In this video, I'm going to look at an HTML page with an SVG element that's empty that will be populated by JavaScript, and I'm going to make a design based on the work of Victor Vasarely. And in particular, this, I don't know how to pronounce it quite, Vonal work. So these are the works of Victor. And here is my design sort of based on that idea. Okay. So here we go. All right, here's the HTML page, title, style, centered. I have a variable that is half of the size vertically and horizontally of the SVG element, and then here is the styling of the SVG element using var and calc to get to be twice of that. And that's just, I don't know that has any great advantage on this one, but I've just been doing it on, I have a number of these, I've been doing it on all of them. Okay, here is the empty SVG element, and everything else is script. Okay. I'm going to have sort of 24 of these concentric rectangles closing in. I have a timer. I'm going to, whenever I start a timer, I tend to assign, it gives a timer ID, and I tend to have a sort of a global variable to remember that. This timer is just going to always be running, so I will not really do anything with this timer ID, but sometimes I use it in debugging to sort of stop the timer and sort of look at errors in the console, what have you. I have a time, and just because some of this involves logarithms and the way I worked with it, I wanted my time to be negative, so it sort of goes from -1 to 0 and then sort of starts again. The H here is related to the hue. So the hue, I'm going to work with an HSL color model, Hue-Saturation-Lightness, and so H is the sort of the color, and I'm starting it off at 240, and then I have this variable K, and I have this sort of oscillating effect between sort of colored and black, and K is sort of involved in that. So I need I'll have a loop that will oscillate back and forth, but I'll also need globally to remember, as I'm making sort of a new rectangle, should it be black or colored? That's going to keep track of that for me. This is me getting that width. Then I has a CSS variable here in JavaScript, and I'm going to make these rectangles are going to involve the sort of the width of the design, so that M will come into my sort of rectangle calculations. Here I'm establishing the timer with set interval. I'm calling a function Vonal every 33 milliseconds. Here is that function, and all the rest is just that function. I am clearing out anything I previously had in the SVG. I'm evolving my time. I am also changing the color. So you see that the color was earlier green, now it's blue. It will move through the sort of the spectrum. And if I get to the end of the spectrum, which is 360, because the hue is sort of an angle, and they're in degrees, so there are 360. So when I get through the whole thing, sort of somewhere in the purples, it will purple, violet, what have you, then it will turn go back and be sort of turn to a red. Okay. I have X's and Y's of the starting X and the ending X and the starting Y and the ending Y of these rectangles. I have another color. So I'm sorry, I'm making a overall color using the HSL model, as I said. The hue is a variable, so that's that $sign. So I'm working with a literal here, but I can break in and have a variable by using $sign curly bracket. So the hue is this H, which is varying. So you can see now it is in the purples. I'm working with 60% saturation, so not full-on brightness of the color. And then I have the lightness, and I have k modulus 2. So with this k variable, it's going back and forth. When k is even, then k mod 2 is 0, and I have black. And otherwise, I have 75%. When k is odd, then k mod 2 will be 1, and multiplied by 75%. I'm going to make, this is the square that is just fills the whole design. So it starts at 0, 0. It's the width, which is 2m, and the height, which is 2m, and I fill it with my color, and I add it. And now I'm doing the sort of the loop part. So I'm looping over my 24. I'm again making a color. The hue varies. I'm setting, in this case, the saturation at 60. And then I have some calculation here for the lightness. So this I plus k, I had the k I talked about before, but now I have I plus k. And this is giving me that sort of switching back and forth between black and colored and black and colored. So that gives me that effect. I have 60 plus 20, but the 20 is multiplied by a cosine, and that varies with the I. So cosine, when I'm 0, when I is, and I'm dividing by num. So when I have 1 divided by num, then this is small, and when cosine is small, it's close to 1. Then it dips down, and then it sort of comes back up. So I am varying here from, and then when I get to be at, when I get back up to num, I have cosine of 2 pi, and so I am back to sort of close to 1 again. So I am in the beginning adding the 20, then at some point I'm subtracting the 20, then I'm back to adding the 20 at the end. And so this is sort of bright and then dark and then bright. And you can sort of see that the outer ones are bright, these middle ones are a little bit darker, and then at the end it's bright again. Just some kind of variation in the works by Vasarely. There was some variation. This was just the variation I decided on. Okay. And now I need, so that's the color, now the shape. So horizontally, as the rectangles come in, I am having their left and right positions change linearly. So I have each one changes with I. So, each square comes in farther along the way, but also they evolve with T. And so you can see that, like, horizontally, these positions are moving in linearly. The X2 is just moving in from the other side, and just because of some rounding every once in a while, I have to worry about x2 getting to be too small or something like that. So if 2m minus x1 it gets to be uh, too small, then I'll just take it to be x1. So I was just looking at the console and I was sometimes getting, because I'm going to get down here and my width is going to be x2 minus x1, and I was occasionally getting numbers like, minus, something times 10 to the minus 13, some very small number, but I was occasionally getting things that had a negative width. So I fixed it with the by taking the max. The verticals, I'm using logarithms, again, just trying to capture this sort of variation. Here it's horizontal, but I made it vertical of the shape. And so the y here, I have, I'm using Math.log, and so we see here that the y2 is log of 1 plus t, and over here for the y1 I have something minus t, so, and then various things to sort of scale them properly and meet up in the middle. And so, and always scaled by m to sort of fit within the design size. And so that is my vertical positions as a function of time. And again, also oscillating with this I. And then I make the rectangle, give it the x1, the x2, the width is x2 minus x1, the height is y2 minus y1. Fill it with the color that was oscillating as well, and then add it to the shape. And then I'm changing k. And not always, but like when I'm ready to switch. So I'm purple for a while on this outer one, and then it switches to black, and then it switches after a while. So that's what this is doing. When the t, which wasn't started off negative, when it becomes positive, I subtract 1, so I'm making it negative again and incrementing my k. So I'm switching. The k is controlling the sort of, is that outer one black or colored? And that's it. I'm at the bottom of the script. Thanks for your attention.